What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today we are going to talk about the Pope Francis. Know what you're thinking. What does the Pope have to do with labor? Let me explain. But before I jump into the explanation, I need you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, share the video, do the damn thing. Let's grow the community. It's growing little by little. We're at 1,490 subscribers. Let's keep pushing. Let's get to 1,500. Let's get to 1,600. Let's get the channel growing. Vatican News released an article that I was made aware of yesterday, where Pope Francis gave a speech to the Italian General Confederation of Labor. And they wrote an article about his speech, and I want to bring it to you guys because he's making a lot of very pro-labor comments. So let's get into it. This is out of Vatican News. Headline reads, Pope Francis: without unions, there are no free workers. Addressing members of the Italian General Confederation of Labor, Pope Francis calls on union members to be sentinels of the world of labor, building alliances rather than stirring up sterile oppositions. That's almost like a pointless action, doing something just for the show. When you're going to do something, make sure that there's a goal at the end of it, is what I get from that. All right, this article is by Christopher Wells. Here we go. Quote, there is no union without workers, and there are no free workers without a union, Pope Francis said on Monday during an audience for members of the Italian General Confederation of Labor. In his address, the Pope lamented that in spite of modern technological advances, and sometimes precisely because of that perverse system called technocracy, our expectations for justice in labor relations fall short of the ideal. The Holy Father insisted that work of labor builds society. I'm sorry, I misread that. The Holy Father insisted that work or labor builds society and is a primary form of citizenship from which the community takes its form. Workers are the entire reason that there is a society. So he's right on the money with his assessment. He maintained that it is through the relationships between persons and their economic and political projects that the fabric of democracy is brought to life day by day. Right on. He emphasized the need for unions to educate people in a sense of work, building fraternity among workers, and emphasizing that people are more important than profits. Is there anything more true than to note that, the people that are working to build you those profit margins, they're far more important than your profit margin. Without those people, you have no profit margin. We've got to start to put the well-being of people ahead of the profit margin. It says there's distortions in the world of labor. Similarly, the Pope said it is necessary to point out the distortions in the field of labor, including aberrations such as gender discrimination. We know do that. The precariousness of work for young people and the culture of redundancy. He also expressed his concerns for worker safety and the exploitation of workers. So basically what we're talking about in this paragraph is we got to be inclusive. It has to be more than just words on a constitutional booklet. It has to be more than just the words. We have to live that. We have to be inclusive. We have to be welcoming. We can't discriminate based on gender. We can't discriminate based on age. We have to be inclusive. There are still too many deaths, mutilations, and injuries in the workplace. It's another quote. And that's true. We have to also care enough to be safe in our work. A lot of times we'll sacrifice our safety to get the job done, which is an example of putting profits over well-being. Safety has got to come first, and it has to come from you. Pope Francis insisted that unions are called to be a voice for the voiceless. I agree. Emphasizing, you have to make noise to give a voice to those who have no voice. That means that because we're in unions, it's our responsibility to be active and to raise the concerns of the many because the many don't have a voice, but unions do. In particularly, he thanked unions for caring for the young, who are often forced into precarious, inadequate, and enslaving contracts, and for every initiative that promotes active labor policies and projects and protects people's dignity. I'll tell you what, I saw a tweet by Robert Reich. I don't know if you guys know him. He used to be a labor secretary, but he posted out, list things that you're thankful to unions for. And he said, I'll go first. And he listed some things. And he said, the 8-hour workday, weekends off, vacation time, sick leave, safety at work, no child labor. But then I dug into the comments, and there were so many people that are so just ignorant that they were saying stuff like, I get weekends off and I don't have a union. I get those benefits and I don't have a union. Dumbass, you get those benefits because of unions. Because before unions existed, there were no weekends off. There were no 8-hour days. That wasn't a thing. Read a book. Sorry, I got off on a tangent. But again, it's unions that focused on safety and quality of life, and we got to continue to do that and increase our demand for safety and quality of life, especially when we realize how much profit we're generating for these overlords who are siphoning it all and expecting us to break our backs for them. Recognizing the tendency of young and old to leave their jobs in search of other opportunities, the Pope insisted this should not be seen as a sign of disengagement, but as a call to humanize work. Amen. Amen. People don't leave jobs just because they don't want to work. They leave jobs because the conditions suck and the pay sucks. Do better, owners. You'll have staff. Unions can be proactive in this area, he said, focusing on the quality of work and helping people find situations more suited to their talents. If you are in the IBEW like I am, then I would hope you're focused on the quality of your work, because we are called to be craftsmen. We're supposed to install the best installation and do it safely. And so unions have to be proactive in that area. We have to be worth what we demand. So when you're at work, make sure that if it's worth your effort, you put forth your best effort. If it's worth doing, do your best. Don't half-ass anything. Don't shit it in. You'll have a journeyman tell you can't see it from my house. Screw that. You know you put that up. I don't care if there's drywall in front of it. You know what's behind that wall. You know what you did. Do a good job. That's what we're called to do. That's why we demand so much. Pope Francis then invited union members to be sentinels of the world of work, building alliances and promoting peace in the workplace. Educating for peace, even in the workplace, often marked by conflict, can become a sign of hope for everyone and also for future generations. I'm gonna read that quote one more time. Educating for peace, even in the workplace, often marked by conflict, can become a sign of hope for everyone and also for future generations. That's so true. You gotta spread the good news. The Pope concluded his address by thanking unionists for their efforts in favor of the poor, migrants, the weak, and people with disabilities, and the unemployed. And he invited them to also care for those who choose not to join unions because the unions have lost their trust, while at the same time calling them to make room for youth responsibility before finally entrusting them to the protection of St. Joseph. Now, I would say for those who choose not to join unions because the unions have lost their trust, I don't think unions have lost your trust. I think you've bought into the propaganda that's been fed to you since the dawn of the union movement. It's the same thing that happened, when slavery was a thing and they had indentured servants at the same time. There were uprisings where the indentured servants, the indentured whites, would join forces with the slaves and nearly overthrow plantations. So there was a discontent percolating underneath the surface, and the capitalists, the owners, the rulers decided to elevate those indentured servants and created a slave patrol and gave them jobs overseeing the slaves. And they didn't pay them any better. They didn't give them better wages. They didn't help them improve their lives very much. But they gave them status over another human being, and that made them feel better about themselves. It's a similar thing that's happened since unions. there is a certain section of individuals, of people, of society, of working class people that have bought into the idea that unions are bad because they take dues and all you have to do is work hard and you can become a millionaire too. It's a lie. You can't work your way by pulling yourself up by the bootstraps to being a millionaire billionaire. It doesn't work that way. You have to have someone invest in you. You have to have capital to become a millionaire. You don't just become a millionaire. There's things have to break the right way for you to do that. Most times you're not going to do that. Most times you're going to work 60 years of your life. Most times you're going to work 40, 50 years. That's life. And that's why unions are so important, because the great majority of folks work 5 days a week and we're all on the same level. And unions protect all workers, even the ones that are not in unions, because where there is a union, everybody makes more money and has better benefits. It's just a shame that so many fall for that lie and that trap of the wealthy to make you basically turn against your brothers and sisters and keep us in this oppressive state and allow them to continue to rape the economy, reap all the rewards while we suffer all of the consequence. We got to do better. But I was really encouraged to see the Pope speak out in favor of labor. You got to keep in mind that when religious leaders side with labor, that's a good thing. Brother Martin Luther King Jr. was talking to sanitation workers that were striking when he was assassinated. He was supporting workers. He was supporting the working class people. And the best, and you got to remember, he was a reverend. So the best times is when we get religious leaders, we get a multifaceted group of folks together to support working people and push policy, because it comes from all walks of life. Workers are a part of all walks of life. They're a part of all religions and no religions. We're all in the same boat, and we need to realize that. All right. Anyway, my name's Eric. I hope you found this video informative. Remember, the fight's not left and right, it's up and down. It's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one teach one, get out there and reach one, and don't forget, there could be no union without you and I front and center. Peace.